I wanted to point out something today that I really need to make clear in the African American community, that truth and speaking truth in season or out of season will always divide. It will always divide. And the reason why it will divide is because anyone who is on the opposite side of truth, who does not have the character to acknowledge that they are on that side of truth, will always separate themselves from you. And that is exactly what it's supposed to happen. Right? So let me give you another example. Those who are unrighteous in their character, as it pertains to the flaws of their character, will always try to destroy the ones who have the character that exposes their lack of it. It's just inevitable. Now let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a real live example of one. And it has to do with the Fianca's men's group. Now, a lot of y'all know about the Fianca debacle, which resulted in murder, corruption, after an act of kindness was given to the African diaspora community as a means to try to reconcile the fact that a lot of them were involved in contributing to the transatlantic slave trade. Just a fact, right? So it ended in a debacle. Why? Because the colonist mindset is still operating in people who still have my skin color, right? And greed and everything else. You see, so this is why I'm talking about this, because just because you're black is not going to be the unifying fact, because if you do not have a standard, then you're going to have corruption. And corruption cannot be tolerated in this system that we need to build to combat what has been done to the African nation. That's why I say clearly, without apology, that Africa today is a black nation with a white soul. Right? It's just a fact. Because if you study history, if under our system and our ancestors' system that there were never beggars and never thieves, and then everywhere you look, there's beggars and thieves, and then you look at the governments which pay homage to their colonialist masters by still sending money, then you understand that we are not free indeed. Matter of fact, in a lot of these African nations, there's slavery happening right now, especially in the Ghanaian community, where they are being oppressed. Meanwhile, certain people have the rights to send their children to Sweden, UK, due to the underground dealings of what they're doing. Meanwhile, the regular local Ghanaian doesn't have that opportunity. Getting paid once a month. So here are the same descendants of the ones who sold us into slavery in the first place, doing it again to their brothers locally in the places that are full of poverty. That's what they're doing over and over. So I say it again. Truth will always divide. It will always. And even more than that, those who don't have the courage to stand up for truth and that high standard of excellence, of black excellence that we need, that a lot of those in the African American community are going to, because of our history, because of what we needed to do to just rise and survive in a racist system, we need to expose it. So I'm exposing it. I'm exposing it. You will never make me feel bad about communicating truth and exposing the wickedness of poor character when you should be doing it yourself. And our brothers, as I said, we need to shame those who are at that level. When our ancestors and their economic system and their culture was so strong at one point that the colonialists said that we could never conquer it. But each day we are conquered because now our brothers sell our other brothers in servitude. Where we now have our sisters raising white babies in one of the first nations that received its independence. Right? So truth will always divide. And the standard of truth is so powerful that our ancestors, even in the flesh of the Mashiach, who was representing the Father in those cases as he pertains to his character, was crucified. Our prophets of ancestors killed. Always. Because we always spoke truth to power. And I'm going to tell you, I will always speak truth to power. Because I know my standard. Because I will lay down my life for my brother, my sister. It's just the way it's going to be. And someone who's not willing to will always sell them sisters and brothers short. Will always sell them. It's just a fact. So, those who subscribe to the poor standard of deceit, those who subscribe to people with hearsay adjudicating the innocent, it is the way of our people since Mashiach. Right? And it will never change until the true people stand up with the standard of excellence that are in those who have been marked, or that are in those who have drinking the invisible waters. You see what I'm saying? Because they will always reject truth. Because there is no truth in them. Right? There isn't. Right? It's kind of like a wise man loves rebuke, for he will increase in knowledge and understanding. But a fool will never. Matter of fact, it says don't even do it. Because all you're going to get is scorn. It is an easy conclusion. It is an easy conclusion. So today, I turn the light on for truth. And I will say it, and I will shout it in the corners. And I will shout it in Ghana. I will shout it in Zimbabwe. I will shout it in Kenya. I will shout it in Cameroon. I will shout it in Nigeria. And it will be shouted. And don't think because you name yourself a genetic heritage of a Hebrew Israelite that you have characteristics that are contrary to the Father, that you are anything but a fake. Because this is the time of the separating from the wheat and the chaff. It's the time. It's the time. It's just the time. So, truth will always divide. Never be apologetic for truth. You tried to do it in a certain way first, but sometimes you need to cut the wound. Cut a wound in order for it to heal again properly. We have too long allowed a poor standard to be in our leaders. We've too long allowed the spiritual leaders, who are the ones that the Father said are going to reject. Come on now, you don't understand. He said that the ones who said, I've healed in your name, haven't I raised the dead, I've done all these things in your name, and he says, depart from me. Huh? Don't look up to them. Don't look up to them. Don't look up to them in Africa. Don't look up to them, because I'm telling you what the result is for them. It's depart from me, I never knew you. That's right. But guess what? Someone who saw their brother in need and fed them. Someone who went to the prison system, which is a disgust of what they do in the prison systems in some of these African countries. It's disgusting how they treat their brothers. White people treat them better than that. It's a disgusting what they do. Right? But those who visited prisons or visited the sick, they are the ones who are operating with the characteristics of the Father. Right? Remember that, Africa, and all those people who supposedly are raising the dead with their $1 million mansions while you live in squalor, while you are poor. Right? Right? Remember that. When they could have corrected this problem a long time ago. Right? But they love themselves more than they do their brothers, and they would never lay down their lives as Mashiach did, as a leader and an example for us. Remember that.